Finding a slope of a line that passes through 2 points. Remember the formula for slope is y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. And one common mistake I see is that people think this is y times 2. This is not a multiplication or anything. This is just saying y2, it's a specific y value. And we have to have these because we need to distinguish between y2 and y1. Okay? So don't think that these are actually like coefficients. They are just a label telling you it's a specific y value. But whenever we're finding slope, first thing I want you to do is label your points x1, y1, and x2, y2. And now that we've labeled these points, this problem is actually quite easy. M equals y2, which is 5, minus y1, which is 0, all over x2, which is 1, minus x1, which is negative 2. And then I'm going to rewrite this just to do a little simplification. 5 minus 0 over, subtracting a negative is the same thing as adding a positive, so 1 minus negative 2 turns into 1 plus 2. And 5 minus 0 is 5, 1 plus 2 is 3, and we just leave it as 5/3. I do not want you to ever write a slope as a decimal. Slopes always have to be fractions. You might want to write that down. Slopes are always fractions. And this is one of the reasons that I have been picky this year with not letting you write things as decimals, because we need to get used to working as fractions. And why do we like them as fractions? Well, because then if I look at a graph, my rise is 5, my run is 3, I can just get to my next point, up 5 over 3, and look at that, I just went from one point to the next on my graph, and that's a really easy way to check your answer. And actually, if you're given a graph, you can always just say, okay, how much do I have to go up and over to get from one point to the next? That's another way to find slope. So looking at our next two examples, we're going to do the same thing. Label the points x1, y1, x2, y2. Then I'm just going to use my formula. M equals y2, which is negative 3, minus y1, which is 4, over x2, which is 2, minus x1, which is negative 3. And then I'm going to go ahead and rewrite this. Negative 3 minus 4 over 2 plus 3, subtracting a negative. This will happen a lot with slope, so you better make sure you're comfortable with rewriting it that way. And then negative 3 minus 4 is negative 7. Over 2 plus 3 is 5. There's my slope. And to check my answer, I just looked at the graph. I went down 7 over 5 to get to my next point, so I must have done it right. For my last example, I'm going to label this one x2, y2, x1, y1, just to show you that the order does not matter. You can label your first point with your x2 and your y2, and you will still get the right answer. So don't think that you have to label them a certain way. So if I do this, y2 is negative 1 minus y1 is negative 1. Over x2 is negative 3 minus x1, which is 2. And I'm going to rewrite this, negative 1 plus 1 over negative 3 minus 2. And then I would get 0 over negative 5, which is just 0. Go ahead and check your answer. It's a horizontal line, which we know has a slope of 0.